Good afternoon. I'm welcoming you to my chemistry class today. We are going to have a look at the aspect of chemistry, which is salts. First and foremost, what is salt? As it is written in the note, any substance that is formed when either all the ionizable or replaceable hydrogen ions in an acid are replaced, or when part of the ionizable or replaceable hydrogen ions are replaced by metallic or ammonium ion, that is when a salt is formed. In a layman language, it means that any number of hydrogen that we can remove from a molecule of an acid and that can be replaced by either a metal or ammonium ion. Then, when it is replaced by a metal or ammonium ion, that is when the hydrogen that is removed is replaced by either a metallic ion or an ammonium ion, then we say a salt is formed. We have 5 main types of salt. Though we have many types of salt, but the main ones are 5. Normal salt, basic salt, acid salt, double salt, and complex salt. How these are formed depends on the process used in forming the salt, which we are going to examine one after the other by the time we are treating each type of salt, which is going to be in the next note. Now, let's have a look at normal salt. What is a normal salt? A normal salt is formed when all, look at this, all, that means all of the hydrogen ions that can be replaced in an acid are replaced completely by what? Metallic or ammonium ions. For example, hydrochloric acid. Now, let us use zinc hydroxide as a base to react with it. That will give us zinc chloride salt and water will be formed. But I need to balance the equation. Now, zinc chloride, this is a normal salt. Normal salt. Now, you can see that all the hydrogen inside this acid have been replaced by this zinc. So, as you can see. Okay, let's have a look at another example. Sulfuric acid, that's tetraoxosulfate 6 acid, with sodium hydroxide base, which is an alkali, that will give sodium triosulfate 6 salt, excuse me, and water will be formed. Okay? Now, let me balance the equation. Sodium tetraoxosulfate 6 salt is a normal salt because it is very obvious that all these hydrogen here have been replaced by this sodium. So take note of that. Now, that is what we mean by normal salt. Okay? Normal salt. Let me use ammonium ion. So, for example, if I have H2SO4, that is tetraoxosulfate 6 acid with ammonium hydroxide, that will give me ammonium tetraoxosulfate 6 salt and the water. I need to balance the equation. Yes, so ammonium sulfate is a normal salt because the hydrogen inside of H2SO4 have all been replaced by the ammonium ion in ammonium hydroxide. Now, let's first discuss acid salts. What is an acid salt? An acid salt is formed, or is a salt that is formed when replaceable hydrogen ions in an acid are partially, please take note of this, partially, that means not completely, partially replaced by metallic or ammonium ions. The meaning of partially is that it is not all the replaceable hydrogen ions that will be replaced by metallic or ammonium ions. That means some of the replaceable hydrogen ions will still remain in the acid. They will not be completely replaced, and that is what results to acid salt. When do we have an acid salt formed? 1. Any acid salt will be formed only when we have an acid that contains more than one replaceable hydrogen ion. Remember, I taught you basicity in the last video, in one of the videos I've done before. So that is to tell you that we are using basicity here. If the basicity of an acid is 1, then such an acid cannot form an acid salt. But when the basicity of an acid is 2 or more, then it will form an acid salt, provided this second condition is there, when there is insufficient metallic ions from the base to replace all replaceable hydrogen ions. So, note this one. When excess base is used, the above, that is this second one, will not result to acid salt. This second condition will only result to an acid salt when there is what? An insufficient, quantity of base which will produce the sufficient metallic ions, as we are going to see in the reaction I'm going to write now. I will write the reaction under which this can be seen. Now, have a look at this. Tetraoxosulfate 6 acid is to react with sodium hydroxide base. Now, this is a dibasic acid. It contains 2 replaceable hydrogen ions. Now, we now have sodium hydrogen tetraoxosulfate with what? Water formed. If you remember, I use these 2 under normal salt also. If you can remember, go and check the previous note. But by then, I put 2 here. That 2 is telling you that we have 2 moles of sodium hydroxide reacting with 1 mole of tetraoxosulfate 6 acid. But in this case, I'm using equal number of moles. That is 1 mole of acid, 1 mole of base. And the acid used is dibasic. That is to tell you that definitely this base is not enough to provide the number of sodium ion that will replace all these 2 hydrogen ions. So what will happen? That means only 1 out of this hydrogen will be replaced by sodium, as you can see. There's only 1 hydrogen here. So the other hydrogen remain in the salt. It is the presence of this hydrogen in this salt that makes this one an acid salt. So that means an acid salt is identified by the presence of hydrogen atom in the formula. So the name of this salt is sodium hydrogen tetraoxosulfate 6. And another one, let me use this one, H2, okay, let me say in this one now, this is a tribasic acid, tetraoxophosphate 5 acid. Now, in this case, there are 2 is reacting with sodium hydroxide base in these 2 reactions. But if you look at this one, there are 2 molecules of sodium hydroxide here. Here, there is only 1 molecule of sodium hydroxide. And if you look at the acid formed, they are different in formula. So both of them are sodium hydrogen tetraoxophosphate 5. So these are acid salts. Why? Because there is hydrogen present inside the formula of the salt. Okay. Now, where am I going? This tribasic acid is able to form two different acid salts. Why this dibasic acid here, which is H2SO4, but with that same sodium hydroxide, is able to form only one acid salt. So take note of this. An acid with two replaceable hydrogen ions can only form one acid salt. While an acid with three replaceable hydrogen ions like this, we can form two different acid salts. That means if there is an acid with four replaceable hydrogen ions, it will form three acid salts, provided the bases used have monoatomic metals such as sodium, potassium. Those are monoatomic. Okay. Now, if I use excess here, or I use excess of this, if I use more of this now, the whole of this can be turned to normal salt. Now, lest I forget, any acid salt can behave like an acid. Why? Because it contains hydrogen ion inside of its chemical formula. That means an acid salt can also react with a base to form a normal salt and water. An acid salt can also turn blue litmus paper red. The same thing applies to basic salt. Basic salt is a salt which contains hydroxyl ion. That means any formula of salt that you see OH inside of the formula, for example, here, you can see OH, which is hydroxyl, in the formula. So that means these are basic salts. And what causes basic salt to be formed? When there is insufficient supply of what? Acid. Excuse me. Hydrochloric acid is reacting with zinc hydroxide base to form zinc hydroxide chloride. And this one to form this triazonitrate 5 acid reacting with magnesium hydroxide to form magnesium hydroxide triazonitrate 5, which is a basic salt. So this one also can turn red litmus paper blue because it can behave like a base. And this also, though they are basic salt, they can react with acid to form a normal salt and water. Take note of that. Then double salt. Double salt is any salt that when it ionizes in solution, it will produce three different ions. Yes. So any salt that can produce three different ions in what? In solution is a double salt. These three different ions will contain two metallic ions or two ammonium ions or one metallic, one ammonium ions. But there must be two positively charged ions. Take note of that. There must be what? Two positively charged ions and one negatively charged ion. So, for example, this is a double salt. Ammonium ion 2 tetraoxosulfate 6 hexahydrate. This is the formula. This is ammonium here, this is ion here, this is tetraoxosulfate ion here. Hexahydrate, hexa means 6, hydrate means water, so 6 molecules of water. Now, if this one ionizes in solution, ammonium ion, which is positively charged, will be formed. Ion 2 ion will be formed, which is positively charged, making 2. Then tetraoxosulfate 6 ion, which is SO4 2 minus, will also be what? Be formed. Okay? Now, let's have a look at another salt. Aluminium potassium tetraoxosulfate 6 duodecahydrate. Duo means 12. That means decahydrate means 12 molecules of water. Lest I forget, this is called potash alum. This very particular shot is called what? Potash alum. The alum we use in the house. This is the formula for it. And this is the name. So that means when it ionizes, it will ionize into potassium ion, which is positively charged, aluminum ion, which is positively charged, and tetrahydrosulfate 6 ion, which is negatively charged. So that is it. That is the end of salt. Thank you for watching my video and for being calm watching this. See you again.